Hello, everybody. My name is Sil the DM, and today I'm going to be bringing you the session recap for my campaign, The City, for December 4th, 2019, titled Path to Justice. Taking up where we left off, our intrepid idiots have taken on a job from the halfling Ohm. The current acting mayor is elected by the Council of Elders who run the city of Couthshou. Before heading out, the group debated food, acquired some new horses and feed, before planning to head off with their 3 new steeds. During this time, Kovlin went to speak with Kura, the black dragonborn she had been living with, and thanked her for allowing Kovlin to stay and study under her for the past months. Also, Zahn went home to tell his mother of the job that they were going to do, as well as deliver to her, after breaking 5 bottles, the Feln's Blood wine they had found in the abandoned mine shaft, hoping her mother's tavern that she had purchased with the platinum Zahn gave her for murdering an old woman would be able she would be able to take it and sell the wine from the tavern, giving them a large cut of the profit. Since the tavern's getting free stock, I argued they could potentially have it so that they could get 80% of the amount the bar is selling it for, because the bar is just getting 20% of the money for free. They didn't spend any money on it. Selling it will probably happen on its own over time. It's a very rare, well sought after wine. But Zahn breaking 5 bottles did end up costing them about 500 gold worth of material. Once everyone was ready to go, Darnik, who has been nicknamed Mr. Blue by Bob, Ohm's ogre doorkeeper, used the tunnels beneath the city to quickly get to everyone and tell them to meet up at the center of the lake. Levy hopefully looked out over the water, hoping that Darling would be there, like the first time when they came out of recovery all those months ago. But if the Fae was there, Levy didn't see them. And here we have a nice little a piece of art of Ohm, the halfling currently in charge of the city. Uh, this art was done by Total Art Freak on DeviantArt and Tumblr. If you're interested in them, they do commissions. Though I believe that they very recently took on a lot of commissions and aren't taking any more till they finish them. With their goal in mind, and Siren, who is a native of the reaches farther north, the group set off, camping on the northern edge of the forest that surrounds the mountain Feln. Valinor, the new wizard to the group, summoned a magnificent tower for them to spend the night in. And by magnificent, I mean 2-story tall and basically just a bedroom and a lab. And so their long cross-country trip was started. Siren brought up to the group that it was about a 2 to 2.5, maybe 3 month journey north. The horses are definitely going to make that a bit quicker, for sure, and certainly less stressful on their bodies. But it's about 1,500 miles between Couthshou and Stockton, so it's quite a long road. They began to cover the rolling hills and shallow valleys, covered in knee-high yellow grass that made up the untamed wilderness north of the city. Finding a large stream, a veritable river, the group kept close to it for comfort as they traveled, spotting large fish in the clear black waters. On the 3rd day of their travels, Siren picked up the sound of splashing ahead and decided to creep forward to check it out, as the horses were getting spooked. On his own, the wood elf druid spotted 6 large horse-sized wolves, covered in bony spikes and outgrowths, as well as a large white wolf that was shrouded in a cold mist. It made the mark on Siren's chest hurt and feel cold. The elf had been experiencing some bad dreams tied to the mark since they set off on their journey, and was waking up each day, breathing cold air and having this light shivering across his body. The dire wolves and the odd white wolf seemed to have not noticed the crouched elf off in a shallow valley between 2 larger mounds of earth. The pack was playing in the water and catching salmon from the stream. Deciding to head back, Siren informed the others, and after a bit of debate, the group decided to cast Pass Without Trace and go around the wolves, taking an hour detour to get their horses far away from the pack before cutting in. This seemed to work. The wolves didn't immediately give chase, and the party was able to move on for several more days. 6, in fact. Surviving on a diet of almost entirely good berries, which no one in the party was enjoying, the group was in a lull of space between some shallow rises when they heard the sound of something ahead. Deciding to let the rogue deal with stealth this time, Half Moon at Midnight creeped forward in his new dragon-studded drow armor to see what was making the noise. Midnight's player did this. I do know their Tumblr, and I will link it in the description because as I'm recording, it escapes me. But here is Half Moon at Midnight with his new studded drow armor that is studded with green dragon scales. Once over the rise, about 150 feet away from the party, who were busy keeping their horses calm, Midnight spotted a natural rock outcropping that was rising up over a large steaming hot spring. Bathing currently in the hot spring was a large mammoth. While Midnight was finding the mammoth, Siren noticed that the wolves from over a week ago were crouched low in the tall grass behind them, about 100 feet away. The wolves had caught the scent of their horses and decided to track them at the insistence of the werewolf leading the pack, which was giving Zod a lot of issues, as he had fought and killed a werewolf before at the cost of two of his friends, which left him with a fairly deserved phobia of wolves and large dogs in general. Siren, not wanting to alert the wolves that he was onto them, informed the party, minus Midnight, of their presence, but asked them to keep it cool while he began to, hilariously, ritual cast Speak with Animals. Covalin and Valinor, getting a little anxious, though they tried to quietly cast mage armor on themselves, for a little bit of added protection. One of them succeeded in doing it without drawing attention, the other not so much. A few minutes passed, and Midnight was crawling his way back through the tall grass, not wanting to give away his position to the mammoth and risk another stealth check. He got close to the group on their horses, saw Siren ritual casting, and asked what was going on. They informed him quietly about the wolves, but when Midnight checked, he could only see 3 of the 7 wolves hiding in the distance. This picture of the wolf and direwolf is from the 4th edition D&D manual, Monster Manual. It was at that moment that the rest heard and saw the now crazed and panicked mammoth come barreling over the hill behind Midnight. The werewolf had spotted the casters, Valinor, casting his defensive spell and figured that their ambush had been made, so he had originally intended to lead half the pack around for just a regular old flank job. However, that was when the werewolf saw the mammoth and noticed how perfectly aligned it was with the party, and the clever monster thought this would make a good missile. The other half of the pack riled the mammoth, causing it to flee directly into the party, as they had fanned out around it, not really giving it a place to run on either side, corralling it to run directly south over the party. The mammoth trampled the still prone Midnight, who was trying to remain hidden, dropping him from full health to 4 and breaking his leg rather gruesomely. At this point, the fight was on, and the other wolves broke cover. Darnik ended up dealing a rather powerful blow, a critical shocking grasp after a misty step when their horse ran off to the mammoth, just because there was nothing else in range, while everyone else tried to prepare themselves to deal with the issue at hand. Everyone else, besides Darnik, was able to keep their horse under check. Oh man, I really need to sneeze. Oh god, no. Why? Just keep thinking about it, it won't happen. Just keep thinking about it, it won't happen. You know, that's like, right, it's the worst, but, you know, sometimes you just gotta do it. And gone. Hooah. After a rough round of fighting and Valinor's horse getting impaled by the thrashing mammoth, the werewolf arrived on the scene, stalking past the wounded and crippled Midnight with a look of glee at his hopelessness. The beast released an Arctic blast that killed Levy's horse, did damage to a lot of the party, and nearly dropped Zod as well. It was also, Siren had, on his turn during the first round of combat, which I kind of messed up the ordering on some of my writing because certain events came to me after I'd written other things. In the first round of combat, Siren dropped his ritual casting of Speak with Animals and summoned 8 velociraptors. who were all caught in the Arctic cone of the winter wolf, and all but two of them were dead. It just killed all of them instantly. Uh, yeah, which is right here. Siren hoping that the Velociraptors would just have so many attack actions that they would be able to rout the roofs quickly. But the winter wolf just fucking destroyed them. Uh, and though things were getting pretty hairy, Darnik ended up taking a heavy gore attack with the tusk that had Valinor's dead horse impaled on it, and Valinor himself ended up getting trampled to the ground by the panicked mammoth. The Winter Wolf was slain thanks to some powerful hits from the two remaining Velociraptors. The Winter Wolf stomping it for over 30 damage during one of its blind attacks, and ultimately with a Toll the Dead cantrip from Levy, dealing, I believe, exact lethal +1 to the wolf. I believe she ended up hitting for 13 when the wolf had 12 hit points left. During this fighting and general melee, two of the other direwolves had went down collectively to the Velociraptor attacks and the efforts of Darnik and Valinor and the other members of the party. As well as Midnight, who I believe had pulled his bow back out. And Zod was doing a fair bit of work punching things. Using Reichi G to punch, punch, punch. At which point the other wolves sort of broke. They routed. They disengaged and ran off, the Velociraptors chasing after them. At this point, Siren cast Speak with Animals non-ritually for the first time in the campaign. I was able to get the mammoth to at least understand that they were not trying to harm it. And with the creature noticing that the wolves were fleeing, and that the party had been left behind, understanding that they weren't somehow working together, the creature also left. The mammoth, Siren managed to basically call out to the mammoth twice, get it to understand that they weren't actively trying to kill it, and that they'd only attacked it because it was hurting them. And when it saw that they weren't attacking it, and they were just sort of trying to give it space, and they had helped kill the wolves and run the others off, the mammoth left them. Which was good. And during this part of the fight, during the early parts of the fight, Midnight had received magical healing, and forced the splintered, sticking out of his leg bone back into the leg, and the wound had healed magically, but it was still weak, and there was this large furless patch where the bone had ripped out of the skin when it shattered. At which point, while everyone else was going to rest and prepare a prayer of healing, Covalin, who had basically avoided the fight, I don't remember Covalin ending up ever landing a spell or doing anything too crazy to anything in the fight. I believe Covalin just rode Basiri up out of reach of the mammoth, and then fell back down in the time when everything was dead. I'm pretty sure Covalin and Zon both escaped the fight relatively unhurt. I'm pretty sure Zon got hit with the Code of Cold, because after which they hopped off their horse and told her to scoot. But other than that, I don't think Zon was hurt. And Covalin was untouched. So they were the ones with the most health. So the two of them decided to go after Darnik's horse that had run off. Zod on someone else's horse who wasn't dead. Did Levy's horse die? I don't remember if Levy's horse died or they managed to save the horse. I'd assume the horse died, but it's a little blurry in my mind. So Zod and Covalin took off to look for Darnik's horse, finding it about 10 minutes away at the bottom of a cliff overlooking the sea. It had, in its panic, not seen the cliff until it was too late, and it was full running. So it was moving at like 4 times basic movement speed, and the horse just couldn't stop. During this time, Covalent flew down and scared off the gulls that were flocking to the freshly made carrion to recover the saddle from the horse that had, splattered itself across the rocks, like Keyleth from Critical Role. The little deep gnome actually ended up taking a point of damage as the gulls, scattered past and one bumped into her pretty roughly. Uh, the deep gnome had never seen the ocean before, so it was a pretty exciting moment of just wow and awe, like true, genuine awe. But as Basiri was rising back up after they had removed the saddle from the corpse of the horse, Covalin looked out intently across the water. And there, in the black-blue water, she saw an impossibly massive shadow. A titanic creature beneath the surface of the mastiff. Beneath the surface had massive, oval-shaped red eyes. And as the two looked at each other, a voice echoed out over the crashing of the waves. "Brother," it spoke. And then Covalin blinked, and the shadow of the creature was gone. A little freaked out by what she had just seen, she pushed Basiri back up the cliff. Up top, Zod, sad that Darnik's horse had died, searched about and found a wildflower that seemed to grow along the edge of the cliff. A steely gray, closed bud with a very, not aviary, but a very thick stem that had a large shrubby outcrop at its base, sort of like a little bush of prickly leaves that sort of meant to protect the stem of the flower. As he inspected the plant, he discovered the inside of the bud, which again, it had these 5 individual petals that were sort of curled up like a lily. Zod inspected it and discovered that the other side of those petals, the ones that had this very steel gray look like stone, were a deep royal blue. Zod harvested several, noticing that they grew along the very edge of the cliff, their roots burrowed deep into stone. And when they arrived back, Zod gave several of the flowers to Darnik, who, when handling them, accidentally tickled the severed stem in such a way that it triggered the flower's bud to open. The 5 petals of the flower slowly unfurled, becoming a brilliantly blue 5-point star, not start, with a golden, not golden, bud right in the center of pollen. Just this beautiful golden center around this blue 5-pointed star. We have some art of Zod and Darnik looking awesome, of course. After which the party skinned the Winter Wolf with someone's detect magic spell picking up an evocation aura from the wolf itself. I think it was Zod using Reichiji, the sentient dagger, to cast detect magic. They managed to harvest half of its hide. The rest was pretty ruined, though, for Zod offered to help, but their xenophobia caused them to really screw it up. Once skinned, they discovered the aura was inside the stomach. Cutting the organ open, salmon spilled out, as did some other junk, and an arm of some humanoid. Looked orky. Upon which there was a ring. Valinor took the ring, and upon casting Identify upon this ring, which was an iron band with iron spikes rising and descending from the band itself. So it's like a regular circular ring of iron, but going up and down the rest of the finger around the ring are these spikes that just come out and just lay along the skin. Upon casting the Identify spell, the group discovered it was a ring of irons. A ring that once per day allowed the user to spend a reaction when they were hit by an attack to deal 2d6 plus charisma modifier true damage to the attacker, bypassing all resistances. Not an immensely powerful magical item, but one that is extremely useful in the right hands. And with the ring being passed to Darnik and Darnik's attunement to the ring, which required the spikes of the ring to drink of the blood of their new wielder, changing the dull gray iron to this sort of blood red color. We ended the session, and that was it. Uh, the wolf encounter and the mammoth encounter were supposed to be two completely separate events, and because of dice rolls and the way the party handled things, and uh, the wolves not noticing them at first, but rolling well enough to notice the set of their horses when they were less distracted, it ended up just being an entire shit show, which was a delight to play through. I hope people had fun listening to this. Hopefully, we'll get closer to Stockton. We're already over a weekend, or about 11 days into the journey, and it's about a 60-day journey, so we're about one-sixth of the way there. I don't imagine every encounter they make will be combat, so other sessions might go a bit quicker. If you have any questions about the world our character or our players are playing in, the players themselves, the characters, or how I make any of the magic items in the world, please leave it in the comment below, and I'll try and get back to you with an answer. Hit that like button, share with a friend who might like D&D and like listening to these little recaps or seeing the cool art. It'd be greatly appreciated. Still out.